Welcome guys once again. So we have seen basic example of listener and we have seen how we can create a listener by using ITestListener and we can use into our test. But every time if you have to create another test, okay, so suppose I'll create another test called test2. So I'll create test2, okay, so I'll create test2. Perfect. So in test 2 again I'll just add the same thing, so I'll be having different set of test cases. So I'll just mark it as test 3 and test 4. I'll write this is test 3 and this is test 4. Simple. Again I'll make as true and false. Simple. So if you can see here, so this is just two test classes I have, but as of now listener is implemented only test 1, but now I want listener to be implemented in my test 2 also. So one way is what I can write again the same thing, okay, in the test 2 also, okay, and it's done, right? But again I'll create another test class, so again I have to write the same thing, so it is very difficult, right? And it is error prone, you can say that. So many times you will be keep writing this listener and you are calling the test class, right? So this is not a correct way. So how we can generalize this thing? So this is common for all the classes, whether you are getting any classes, test 1, test 2, test 4, test 100, right? So let's make it generic. So how we can make it generic so that I can use throughout the project in any classes without writing every time at the rate listeners. So yes, we can achieve it by using testng.xml file. So let's create that. So I'll just go to testng, okay, right click testng. So if you'll go here to the test case, right click testng, convert to testng. Once you click here, by default testng xml file it will give your name, okay. So I'll give testng xml listener. I'll just give listener, okay, listener, okay, listener 1. That's all. So my xml file will be created here somewhere. So testng listener 1. I'll open this. So here I have only one class, okay, test listener test 1. So now I want for class 2 also, so I can write n number of classes inside classes, right? And I will make it at test 1. So now both test classes is covered. Now I want to be I want to declare a listener which will be applicable for all the test classes which will be inside classes. So let's define the listeners, okay. So very simple. So I need to write the listeners, so I'll just write listener. So listeners, okay. So I'll be just writing very basic example so that it will be very easy. So open, and here I'll close the listeners. Simple. So I'll be closing the listener, and inside that I need to write the listener, okay, class. So which class my listeners will be pointing, okay. So again listeners, okay, then class name you have to give. Class hyphen name is equal to again package name dot class name. So what is my package name? So it is listener, what is the package name? So listener demo dot listener 1, right? So I'll be writing listener demo dot, okay, dot listener 1. So I'll just copy paste for easy use, listener 1. And if you see, I'm getting error because it should be in double quote. That's all. So if you'll see, I'm getting anywhere, okay. So listeners I have to close. So you might have multiple listeners, so I'll be closing this. So let's see where we are missing. So okay, this is listener, not listeners. Perfect. Done. So I have listeners. Inside listeners I can have again multiple listener. So one of the listener I have added, which is what, ITestListener, okay, in this. So now this ITestListener will be applicable for n number of classes which we will keep adding here. Okay, so let's execute by using this testng.xml file, and we'll see this listener will be applicable for both the classes, so test1 and test2. So I'll just comment this and don't need this add that listener annotation anymore. I can execute by using TestNg, listener1.xml. I'll go right click, run as TestNg shoot. Perfect. Now just observe the output. Perfect. If you'll see, I am able to capture all those things. The test name, the name of the test case started is test1, then test1 executed, then the name of the test case success is test1, again test2, test3, test4. So now I have written in testng xml file at only one place, and I'll keep adding the class name here, and it will be applicable for all the classes whatever will be there for execution, right? So this is very simple listener concept in testng. Now I'll be talking about little more about this listeners method, abstract method. So on test start, I'm just getting the log, success, then failure. So here on the test failure, what most probably we'll do if you are using Selenium, so we'll log the screenshot. Okay, so if a test case is getting fail, please take the screenshot, and I'll just call the screenshot method here. That's all, nothing else. Okay, so this all those things you can implement in your framework as per your requirement. So this is very basic example how listeners work in particular class and at the suit level, okay, for multiple class. Okay, so that's all about this ITestListener concept. So in the next session we'll see another listeners. Okay, so thank you for watching, see you in the next.